I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is. No. I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is. No. I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is. I said, I wish I could have that dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is. No. I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is. No. I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is.
Hi, everybody. Sorry. It just took me a minute to get started. So nice to see everybody. I feel like I lost some people along the way. Hi. Sorry about the cancellation from last night, everybody. Just had a long day at work and kind of got real tired real quick. But thank you all for joining me this Saturday evening. So thank you. Hopefully we won't take too long. Let me thank Sharon, who came in and joined the Life in Vibe community. We are having relaunched the memberships. There's one tier and one tier alone, and that's a tier of $2.99. Partly because of YouTube takes a third of everything. So I thought, well, if I make it like, and that was a popular level. So I'm guessing that's what people are thinking, like a third goes to YouTube and the other 2/3 goes to the creator. So thank you so much, Sharon. You do have some emojis. there's badges. Obviously, we do shout outs and so forth. I haven't included any members' lives or anything like that, just because obviously being somebody who's in school and having kind of a busy, crazy schedule, I often do not, it's hard for me to commit to that. So I just made this one tier that if you want to, support the community and my journey through school, I do appreciate it. I know that Sarasota Tim has his things, but I really do believe I do come with some expertise and some education. It's like when you watch Dr. Ed Weir, who's one of my favorite folks to watch. You're watching somebody who has expertise. I know that being a medical professional nowadays is a controversial topic. I know that I'm going to try to keep the light out of my eyes, being somebody who obviously is trained to be somebody who's in psychiatric mental. I'm going to try to keep the ring light out because I know that people are irritated. So I'm going to try to do my best. I'm going to be small soon because we're going to be bringing up Tim shortly. But yes, I know that for some reason, being somebody who follows science and evidence-based practice. Sorry, let me try. I'm sorry to fiddle with the camera so much. Evidence-based practice. Somebody who is obviously working in the healthcare industry, all of these different things. It's often, it feels very controversial because people want to say that we're, supported by Big Pharma. That's not the case that I've been aware of. I know that there were some issues around Purdue Pharma and obviously the initiation of the opioid crisis and the sort of information that they gave. And there has been some history of pharmaceutical companies and how that was managed with practitioners in the past. But there's a lot of regulation, I think, now in order to prevent those types of things that had happened in the past. And so I think, I'm somebody who likes to look at studies and research and large cohort studies and researchers. But anyway, so tonight, really what we've got on the topic is that Sarasota Tim went to the doctors. Let me bring him up. And I'll say hi to everybody. I just got in from walking Junebug. So Sarasota Tim had his, as we know, he went and had a let me see. Yeah, there we go. That looks good. Okay. He had his labs drawn, as we know. He said it was like a doctor's appointment, but at the time I said, that just sounds like he had a lab draw. Pretty much what happened. Tim had a lab draw. And so, hey, thank you, David, for becoming a member too. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you. It's much appreciated. Thank you. Well, welcome to the Life and Vibe community. Way! I should, you know what? This is like my own.
I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have Best Dry Begging. Well, I mean, you know what that is.
Absolutely. And I'm dry begging this evening for, obviously, people to join my community. So thank you. I'm not going to be ashamed. So anyway, and all of you who are here, thank you, David. I know with Old Man Guy Talks Money, Dr. Falcone. If you are here, I saw that Carl was here. Hey, Carl. You should find this interesting tonight, Carl, because I'm going to be going over some interesting disciplinary action. And I got into a little tiny bit of a rabbit hole. I couldn't get into too far of a rabbit hole this evening since I was doing some work on neurocognitive disorders. And so I kind of was a little bit needing not to get down the rabbit hole, but it was surprising the amount of disciplinary action I have found with this particular physician. And it was something interesting. Yes, new drug has been approved to replace opioids. Sounds very promising. Yeah, I mean, they do different types of analgesics. And I wish I could think of more off the top of the head. I don't really do analgesics. We do opioids. I do look at opioid medications for, treatment of pain disorders with patients and so forth. But obviously, we're focusing on Tim's cholesterol this evening, which is a topic I'm very familiar with, having worked as a cardiac RN for many, many years. And obviously, one of the reasons why people and physicians have so much interest in the cholesterol numbers of a patient is really because of its indications to do with heart health. And so obviously Tim has this thing that says my cholesterol is high. I hear experts on YouTube say that doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, well, Tim, aren't you listening to what your doctor has to say? I mean, I'm on YouTube, obviously, and I am somebody who is a healthcare professional. But I do always try to say in preface to any of the videos that I do have that I do not treat, I do not diagnose, I do not do any of these things whatsoever. These are just case studies for me, and the information that I'm presenting this evening, these are not my opinions on this disciplinary action. This is actual evidence that I found as to some of the behaviors behind this particular physician, that if I were somebody who was following this person, it would cause for me alarm and concern, because I think they have some real ethical issues and they have not taken their patients' health in their in these matters. I mean, they've had a couple of disciplinary violations. That's pretty bad. And on probation. So yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh, hey, everyone. Hey, come on in. So yeah, let me get going on Tim. So he says my cholesterol is high. I hear experts on YouTube say that doesn't mean anything. Well, I don't know about that, Tim. I don't know if they're experts, because we'll hear who Tim's talking about, and then we'll take a look at all this paperwork I got into. All right, guys, let's get into Tim and the reaction.
Just left McDonald's. Sarasota, Tim, coming to you. Hey, would you go ahead and hit the subscribe button? It really helps me out. Gonna have a look.
I don't know about that, Tim. I don't know if anyone's been taking a look recently at any of Tim's channel numbers, but I noticed that the difference between the number of views he was getting for just simply going like to the beach last year to how many views that he receives, even with a sad fishing video like my cholesterol is high. Because as I said in recent live with Blind Views, I was talking about the fact that Tim is the captain of the sad fishing boat, and he loves the sad fish for sympathy. And I think he hopes that's going to be able to bring him, obviously, more donations to his Buy Me a Coffee. But his views are remarkably down. Like this one, I don't think it has had many views, considering I think it was released. Let's see. Let's have a quick peek. See. So this video came out 10 hours ago, and he's only just had over 3,000 views. Whereas we'll take a look possibly at his page, and if we have time later, because I still have to get this paper finished tonight. I'm almost done. Anyway, this person says it's always best to listen to the YouTube health experts. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, let me get focus back. So last year he would have had, oh my gosh, I mean, I would have seen easily, like I said, we'll take a look. He could have had 20-some thousand views on something like this. Easily. 20-some thousand. Some, there were like 70-some thousand views on some. I think the one when he initially went to get his eye surgery. And so, I mean, and then hundreds, thousands of comments. I mean, a very different world. In 1 year, Sarasota Tim's channel has kind of consistently remained at that sort of mid 60,000 sub range, and has only just garnered, over 3,000 views on this video in 10 hours, which is really low for such a, a big, huge channel like Tim's. That's a pretty remarkably, definitely best cup of coffee in his life. Yeah, that's pretty, insane. Low. So his channel is dying. So anyway, I wanted to preface that because it's his 60,000. And so when people don't think that the channels that have been kind of bringing Tim out, and Tim's own behaviors himself, I mean, recently, I think all the stuff with the pew-pews and everything else really kind of took a hit on his channel, and his views kind of got hit by some of that. So there were some days that he was barely getting any views. So I'm surprised he got as many as he had, because they would sit for a while with no views and then suddenly go up. So it's pretty low for Tim. All right, considering he's sad fishing. All right, Tim, take it away.
Cup of coffee here, 99-cent special on the app. Happy Saturday to everybody. So I want to talk about health this morning. 6 creams in a paper cup. Very hot. Now, just early, they got
to. Well, if your cholesterol is high, why are you having 6 creams in a paper cup? I don't think the cream that they have it. I mean, when I think of cream, I mean, and not to say that you shouldn't enjoy these things in moderation. I mean, everything in moderation is my sort of thing. And I recommend, usually, if somebody's trying to take care of their heart and their heart health, what is recommended is what they call a Mediterranean style diet, which is rich in fruits and vegetables and grains and pulses and seeds, and has, some nice, maybe some fish, a little bit of lean meats in it, very, that's kind of what they recommended. It's kind of like considered to be a balanced diet. Doesn't really say like a ton of bread or anything like that. No, it's literally like grains and pulses and things of that nature more. I mean, it's super healthy. That's what they recommend. So yeah, I don't think that cream though, that cream though, Tim, is gonna be the antidote to this cholesterol number. But he says he doesn't think it matters, the cholesterol. Well, it kind of does, but I'll talk about, and then for some people it does matter. They think, obviously for their brain health. But for me, thinking it from a cardiac perspective, when you have too much LDL, low density lipoproteins, that form of that type of cholesterol in your system, it will cause atherosclerotic plaque buildup in your arteries, specifically coronary arteries, which could lead to a heart attack. That's just kind of how that science works. Okay, keep going, Tim.
Got a fresh spot in there. Oh, that's hot. I couldn't make any this morning. I have no water. I'm not going to use spigot water. I'm going to tell you right now, this coffee right here from McDonald's in that paper cup with 6 creams, that's the best cup of coffee I've ever drank in my life. Love it. Why are you screaming? You got a microphone on. I want to talk about health. I got my blood work back. They emailed me and they said, hey, all your health information is on your record of, your personal record. You got this portal. I got a portal.
Okay.
And
so I'm guessing that Tim took a look at his numbers before speaking with his doctor, which if you're really not familiar with what you're looking at, it may be best to wait to hear from your physician first, especially if you get nervous about things, or you're going to go, look for, Dr. Google or Dr. YouTube. Not to say there is not actually, YouTube started a program where they certify who are actual medical providers giving legitimate medical information, supposedly to kind of be able to counteract against maybe some interesting, less evidence-based medical information that could be found on the YouTube platform.
It has everything they've ever done and I've done and shots I've gotten and all these kind of things. Oh, folks, I'm sorry. I got to slurp it. I'm sorry, but I got to have some coffee. Jim Bauer and others, and it's kind of a trend. A lot of people, you hear it about the carnivore diet. I'm not 50 pounds overweight. I could lose 10 or 12 maybe. My stomach's a little bigger than I want it to be. Otherwise, my arms, my legs, my mind.
Okay, Tim, keep going.
And I'm pretty
I'm
much
listening.
and I feel great.
Okay.
I'm strong. I can walk. I can run. The only thing I can't do is tie my shoes. Nah, my stomach's not that big, but and I have a little difficult. I don't even really have a difficult time seeing because my sight. I'm so used to how it's gradually gone away that if I close the right eye,
I'm still trying to figure out how Tim forgot he had eye surgery on Monday, unless it was a sad fish. I just really, I mean, maybe he just really did slip his mind, but I mean, you would think not, considering how much he complains about his eyes. I should have used that as the thumbnail, Tim. Darn. Okay, you can tell I really didn't. This is a cold reaction here. Look at that face. That should have been the thumbnail. Ah, shoot.
you'll see. It's just obviously much clearer, like HD, and this is 420. And I'm 66, so things are wearing out. Your brakes wear out, your tires wear out. So I got this blood work done, and I went on my portal, and it finally showed up because I had to cancel my appointment Monday because it conflicts with my eye surgery. I'm sorry, folks, slurping. That's good.
All right, I have a cup of tea over here too. Some chai. Chai tea with oat milk. I don't like to eat too much. I try to limit the amount of cholesterol I had. But anyway, cholesterol sort of. Anyway, back to Tim. How are you not planning? Like, I mean, how hard it is to kind of get doctors. Maybe it's much easier to get doctor's appointments than yours, but I know with my primary care physician, I definitely would have kind of had ensured that I made sure the surgery probably could have been changed to slightly easier than the primary care. I don't know. At least in my town, it's harder. I don't know anybody else's experience.
I am being.
Hey, Catherine.
I've believed in a lot of things in my life, and some things turned out to be. I shouldn't have believed that. I was gullible, I bit, and I ran with it. I won't go into what they were. Some of them were really, really out there. But this carnivore diet and learning about it, and it took me forever to even listen to this Dr. Ken Berry, and I haven't even listened to him but a few videos, believe me. But I listened to one this morning because when I read my results of my blood, that strictly was a kind of a cholesterol checking thing. It's 235, 233.
All right. Slightly high, slightly elevated. But my question always would then be, what is the breakdown between the HDL and the LDL? Because that 233 really doesn't tell me anything, to be honest. Oh, it's slightly elevated. But it doesn't mean if, for example, if it's elevated like that and his HDL is good, like, I don't know what he's going to say. If his high density lipoprotein was good, then I would be like, okay, well, just be aware. You may want to make some lifestyle modifications. And, maybe there is something in your diet, maybe that has got more cholesterol in it that you may want to consider, the saturated fats in that food and move away from having as much of it. Maybe you want to start to increase more fruits and vegetables. Maybe you want to start to have more exercise in your diet. That's depending, if it's, a higher HDL with a lower LDL, or maybe even if the LDL is creeping up a little bit. But is there ways that you can modify your lifestyle in order to start to change those numbers? I don't think that most practitioners would go straight to needing to give people medications unless there's something within the evidence of their lab work which would indicate that, maybe just diet and exercise isn't going to be fast enough to make enough of a impact on those numbers. So we don't know. We got to keep listening to Tim. All right, Tim, keep talking.
Semantics.
It's the way my mind thinks.
199 is supposed to be like the highest. I think that's what it was when I got the first blood work done. And Jim Bauer and others in there, and Ken Berry I said, don't let that worry you. So right away this morning, I was looking at it early. Got up early like I always do.
Creamer is half and half often, which is, I believe, half milk, half cream, rather than it just being full cream, Catherine. I think half and half is something that you would find more in the United States than, say, potentially New Zealand or the UK or Australia. I don't think we have half and half.
Do. And I went on my portal. I'm trying to get my schedule, my curriculum today to get some things done. Because I told you my first video today, I just sat around yesterday. I didn't even leave the camper. I didn't make any videos. I just sat there, thought my thoughts, watched YouTube videos. I got to be honest with you. I watched several hours of gun videos. I got this thing in my head to buy like 10 or 15 more guns. Now, I might want to procure another one because I couldn't keep the one I had. I want to replace it. And I might want to sell one of the ones I have and switch the money. See, I mean, I don't want to.
Tim, I thought I was hearing numbers. All I heard was a 233 cholesterol. I have no information to tell anything here. Did anybody? I didn't get a triglyceride. I didn't get an LDL, and I haven't had an HDL. So I have like a quarter of my information that I need from this cholesterol panel. It's got a panel for a reason. Is he just going to tell me one number? Oh, see, this is how you know Tim has no idea what he's even looking for. And I know people get irritated when I talk. Some guy wrote in my comment section, why do you have to say how educated you are? I'm so sorry. Maybe sometimes as a female, you have to let people know more. Maybe it's different. Or maybe it's different when a female does it, because maybe that seems like braggadocious behavior. Whereas if a guy was talking about his credentials, you'd be like, oh, look at him. So, but I do obviously have a background in health, and I am in school. But I'm trying to figure stuff out about my clinicals, but that's a whole different story. But so Tim is giving me a portion of my information I need. Okay, carry on, Tim.
I want to add. I don't want to keep spending
Not
money.
feeling a diagnosis.
Anyway, we're trailing off.
Yeah, you are.
So I get on that internet and I go on YouTube and I put high cholesterol, Dr. Ken Berry. Boom, 2 videos come right up. If you got high cholesterol numbers, watch this. So I did.
Well, Tim, that's because it would be in your recommended feed. I'm sure if I put in the high cholesterol, I get something completely different in my YouTube feed. But Dr. Kim Berry's history is fascinating and scary all at the same time. I was kind of horrified at the disciplinary action and some allegations around SA and allegations of arson. It got really wild. It was a huge and these are recent events. This wasn't like in the long past or anything. And some of it's been going on for a while. It was wild. This guy, this Dr. Kenneth Berry out in Camden, Tennessee, he is an interesting character. And I'm kind of burying my discussion about him. And I'm only going to produce facts. So I'm sure, like Tim, he's a channel striking. I'm sure he doesn't like anybody talking about him. None of these types do. They get real feisty.
The first one that came up was an hour and a long time. I said, oh, I ain't watching this. So I did scrub it. You know what scrubbing is? How you fast forward. I went 5 minutes and I went 10 minutes. I listened for a couple of minutes. And, you kind of do a little speed reading there. And I got to where this guest, this other doctor he has on there. And it was telling me what I wanted to hear. It was telling me, forget about it. Forget those numbers. The doctors have been, they did these tests years ago, and that's their kind of the thing they go on, and it doesn't mean anything. High cholesterol numbers don't mean anything. I hear you screaming. It's like
I mean, they do mean something. So this already, what evidence? I mean, you have to think a little bit deeper behind that. So are they having a large cohort study that's a randomized controlled trial that they, performed in order to gather this information? I think it's a little dangerous just typing in high cholesterol on YouTube, especially after you see all the stuff that Dr. Berry has had disciplinary action for. I'm not talking about accusations. I'm talking like the medical board in Tennessee has taken disciplinary action. And it's for stuff not about this stuff, but for some other things that are really not very ethically sound at all, and put his patients in some great risk.
It's like saying there's no God to a Christian. What?
Oh.
So people, the reason I'm thinking that Dr. Ken Berry and others.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you, Compman0678, for becoming a YouTube member. We certainly do appreciate you supporting the community. I really do appreciate that. I know that some of the topics that I talk about, being a medical professional, might open me up for criticism, but that's okay. And if you want to support me in my, work towards grad school, I always have my grad school fundraiser. I am trained to be a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I know some people are tired of hearing that, but it's true. And I feel that mental health is going to be so important. And so, yes. And yes, I do believe in evidence-based practice. And I've been reading a lot of books and things today. So, yeah. Hey, Lori, come on in. And I'm sorry. I'm saying hey to everybody. Tater Hater, come on in. Wasn't Ken Berry the actor on F Troop? Potentially. We need psych and yes, we do. We do. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tim needs to be getting his beauty rest. He's got an eye thing coming up. Well, Tim, what numbers are you going to tell me? I feel like I'm deprived of information. 233 is not good. I would suggest some
maybe right
changes
in saying that everything that we thought is wrong is because everything that we have thought turns out is wrong. Everything that we thought was truth turns out to be a lie. I've known it for years. All the commercials you see on TV, those scams about Relaxium and AAG reverse mortgage.
Well, does that mean that you're a scam too, Tim? I don't even know what products he's mentioning here. And not every medication is the appropriate medication. There's lots of reasons why a medication prescribed to somebody may not be actually an appropriate choice. There's a lot in the decision tree that goes along with why do you prescribe this particular medication. Then you have to look then on the, first you want to ensure that obviously you've got the correct diagnosis, because without that, then obviously anything you go to treat with it is going to be ineffective. Secondly, you want to ensure that the person is not got comorbidities or other types of illnesses that could also affect. I mean, that's actually one of the first things you want to do is make sure that, the illnesses aren't causing anything that would seemingly cause these others. There's a lot that goes into it. I'm not going to bore everyone, but there's a lot that goes into these decisions beyond what Tim is thinking, probably. Well, I know beyond what Tim is thinking. I know that for a fact. That I will say is a fact.
And what's that other one? I can never think of it.
My opinion.
Is that Relaxium and something for pain? It's some pseudo crap that they just get you to buy. But wait, order now and you get a second bottle for free. Or we'll give you 10 more bottles. Just buy it. Everything you see, these vacuums, all these commercials, I don't know how people buy them because there's gullible people. I've never believed in those, but I've believed in a lot of other things that I found out to be a lie. Things like listening to our government that you would think wouldn't lie to you. What a joke. But everything in this country is about making money.
What about your subscribers listening to your Social Security advice, Tim? What about that being a lie and a scam with your terrible numbers? You can't figure anything out. So you were just selling a dream, Tim. You were just selling the whispers of a dream to your audience. What about, your need to have them send you buy me a coffees because you needed to have help get you a gallon of gas Then you had all this money. I mean, which is it, Tim? I mean, if anybody should know a thing or two about some scam. Tim, you open yourself up for this stuff. You really do. And I know it absolutely burns you up that you cannot strike my channel because you're scared you probably get in trouble with YouTube because you did too many strikes recently on people. And all of them you lost on. You lost on all of them. You tried to strike me 4 times because you struck 4 of my videos. You thought the first 3 you hit me on, you were going to give me 3 strikes and I was going to be out. I know it. But now I've got 0 strikes, Tim. And you called me a jerk because of it. And then you tried to get your channel to mass report me. Anyway, keep going, Tim.
And health is one of the, if not the biggest money maker. Big Farm selling pills, shots, drugs, treatments, and these kinds of things. First thing they say, you got good insurance, right? Because they want to drain your insurance, or they want to drain your bank account. They want to put you on these statins. They want to put you on high blood pressure. They want to get you.
Really? This is what you think we're after? Draining your bank account? We're actually taught to try to consider what our patients' health equity disparities could be. So we don't try to drain people's bank accounts. We actually have a lot around, ensuring that we're aware of what a patient's economic possibilities could be. So, I mean, Tim just has this, getting this conspiracy. Oh, they're trying to take my money. Tim is like, I guess it's just always been whatever money that Tim's won. And now he may have access to a little bit more money. He doesn't want to share it with anybody. I mean, his pay it forwards are all through his coffee donations. And he has like a $10 limit now. And then I heard he wasn't getting enough buy me a coffee donations. And so he said, oh, no, I'm not going to even let people, have their, buy me a coffee, pay it forwards because, I'm not getting enough on that. Such a generous man. And he wasn't even, you know what? Until we started really on these reaction channels, holding him to the fire to show us that he was really paying it forward. He used to just talk about it. Nobody ever saw him do it. Now he has to perform it, and it irritates him, and he puts this money limits on it. It's wonderful. His views have tanked. We have done some solid damage throughout all the different channels, hater channels, whatever you want to call us, on this man's views. And it's glorious because, he wants to talk about, what's your ball, Tim? Why is the information you give, so much better quality? You just seem to pull out your bloody proverbial horse. All right, keep going. I can say horse. It's a medical term and it's Saturday night.
Sicker. They don't want to cure anything. They don't want to stop wars. Why? It's always got to do with the money, folks.
Oh, no. Well, I understand healthcare, hospitals are business. I'm talking about medical professionals. Healthcare systems are run by, a lot of times, private equity firms. So, but that's got nothing to do with people who are medical professional, about his doctor trying to say he should take a statin medication. It's got nothing to do with that. There's absolutely nothing. His primary care doctor, I can promise you, is not getting money from Big Pharma to put him on a generic statin medication that's been out on the market for forever and a day. There's no kickback on that. So hospitals, that's a whole different story. And I've worked for healthcare systems. So, but he was talking more about these folks are always thinking like the doctors are in cahoots with all this stuff. Maybe some doctors have some businesses going on and don't get me wrong. I've seen some stuff around them owning medical buildings and stuff like that. Not talking about the medicine. And obviously there's doctors who get in trouble for this, which we're going to look at Dr. Kenneth Barry in a minute. All right, keep going, Tim.
And so many people, they're hearing me say this right now and they're going, what in the world is this guy talking about? I got high cholesterol. I'm taking a statin. I've been on it for 20 years. I got high blood pressure.
Okay.
I got, I take the thing and it shows I got it. I'm not saying that there aren't diseases. I'm not saying people don't die of a heart attack. I'm not saying any of that, cancer, all of that. I'm saying that these treatments and things that can reverse it are not being employed, and the doctors are making people sicker. Third leading cause of death, going to the doctor.
No, Tim. Gosh darn it. Every time. Tim, it is wherever his facts come from. Not true, Tim. That is not true. Oh gosh, I'm not saying there are not medical mistakes. I'm not saying the system is perfect. I'm not saying any of these things. And also, Tim, if you've been on a statin for that long and it's not been effective, then obviously the conversation needs to go around what your dose is or what are your lifestyles. You see that here with 5 freaking creams in your coffee, for fudge's sake, and you melt bacon and eggs. I mean, how is that medication? I know it's meant to be taken with diet and lifestyle changes. It cannot combat all of this shit. Pardon my French. Oh my gosh. Yes, having high cholesterol, you have a greater chance of having atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. That's just kind of what we see. No great conspiracy in that. I don't know. I just, it's so frustrating. And this is why I should act so frustrated. I listen to people with hallucinations. I don't understand, but Tim, I find frustrating.
Misdiagnosis, wrong surgeries, and everything else they do. And that's good coffee.
Angel, come on.
Really good coffee. And it's about money to them now. You know, it seemed like there was a time they wanted to spend time with the patients and have a doctor-patient relationship. And then these companies, Big Pharma, they come into these doctors' offices. They send out these reps, and they bring in these samples. They go,
yeah, RFK. I just have concerns with anybody who has a long history of substance use disorders being the head of the Department of Health. This is my personal opinion. You know, I think they need to have more of a background in science. I think he's severely lacking in that. And so I personally do not feel comfortable with having somebody who's a large science denier in such a pivotal position. That's just my personal opinion.
Here, give these to them. And then what do they say on TV? You ever notice it? May side effects, may cause thoughts of suicide. Most of them say that, among other things, many other things. Diarrhea, headaches, this and that. Worse than the symptom you have. Worse than what you got. You get something worse.
Yes, they
They're
are.
Poison pills.
Absolutely ticking time bomb.
And I believe that along the lines of what Dr. Ken Berry says,
I told people in my community post, if you're offended by actually evidence-based science and you do not believe that high cholesterol and hypertension could actually lead you to have a coronary heart disease and potentially a myocardial infarction, then you've obviously never worked in a heart hospital, because welcome to my world. And so I think, you know, I'm allowing you to have liberal conversation in the chat, but obviously I am going to disagree with you strongly. And that's just going to be obviously, and that's what I'm going to think. Yep. And RFK is a nut. Absolutely. So, and you know what? I'm going to end up offending people today. But that's, you know, I said to people that obviously I believe in science. And that's what I spend my day reading and studying. So obviously, you know, having podcast bro Sarasota Tim out here spewing out his nonsense, in my opinion, is really actually to the point where he is harmful, and he is potentially could cause, you know, irreparable damage to people watching his nonsense. I mean, this man has no expertise in anything. I mean, nothing. And then you know, you don't go to YouTube for experts. Maybe certain videos, but you better ensure that they're coming from like a actual source that's, you know, evidence-based.
and others. I haven't even listened to him much less others. But I do know that I've heard over my lifetime people that believe in the natural herbs and things that God put on this earth that can help us, and the natural foods that were provided to us as human.
High cholesterol is going to lead to atherosclerotic plaque buildup. That's what cholesterol leads. It leads to buildup of plaque. Those plaque, they lay on top of each other. And over time, they lay on top of each other so much, they cause for your arteries to completely block off. That's got nothing to do with sugar. Well, sugar too, because what sugar does is lead to more atherosclerotic plaques. That's why high blood sugar would lead to death. Because high blood sugar is probably going to have somebody become diabetic. Diabetes is one of the risk factors for having a greater increased risk for atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease and other inflammatory processes. That is why high cholesterol, high triglycerides, all of those lipoproteins, if you don't have the high density lipoproteins as carriers for the low density lipoproteins, and there's some other more complexities behind this, but basic simplistic explanation, then you're going to have these plaques start to build up over time. So anyone who's telling you that cholesterol doesn't lead to death is basically giving you really bad misinformation and could potentially cause you harm down the line. And that's nothing to do with my opinion. That's actual evidentiary fact. And there are plenty of studies behind that. I mean, I'm talking thousands of studies, not talking about some podcast bro, talking whatever's gimmick they're trying to sell you. That's going to make them a quick buck so they can start living the good life. Because that's what Dr. Berry does in Tennessee. And that's not my opinion. That's a fact too.
Beings that bring us the nutrition that we need. And Dr. Ken Berry talks about the proper human diet, which is just meat, eggs, and butter.
Oh, really? No, man.
A little bit of chicken and pork. That we're like carnivores. You know,
No, man, I have spent the last 14 years researching. In fact, I've probably got more papers around cholesterol and high cholesterol and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease sitting inside of my bedroom than you have read in your life or seen. So the fact that you're trying to tell me to educate myself and you're naming some type of charlatan in my chat is absolutely ridiculous. And you're about to get yourself, I'm allowing you to stay in here because I'm being absolutely polite. But Nomad Weather Girl, you were extremely close to losing your privileges in the chat. Angel of Glass, keep an eye on them soon, please. Because I'm allowed to be able to do what I need to spit my facts out. And I'm so sorry, Nomad Weather Girl, but you are obviously smoking the pipe of conspiracies. Good night. You can stay. But,
and seafood.
You're out of line.
But I'm not sitting here
research
promoting it. I don't know anything about it. I just tried it. I started doing it. And what?
I am sorry. I have probably done more research than you can imagine. So thank you very much. And I appreciate you having your concerns for my research. But if you could actually see the amount of books that I'm surrounded by that are based on evidence-based practice and the amount of studies I read and just the amount of studies I read today in just one day would blow your mind away, Nomad Weather Girl. And I'm assuming because you're a nomad, I'm just saying.
What has it done? I've done okay, but I mean, I'm not on the strict diet. I eat salads. I've even fell off the wagon and had some sweets, some cakes and pies, a couple of pieces. I was up at JJ's and she made that cinnamon bread. It was amazing. And Fred's birthday, but I don't buy Milky Way candy bars and I don't buy potato chips. And I have had a little bit of bread, but I've eschewed bread from my diet, which is pure sugar. I try to stay away from the white flour. And I'm just basically trying to, work my way into more of a narrow.
Well, yeah, a lot of that bread is going to probably become sugar. Well, it's highly processed, a lot of the stuff that we eat. It's not the bread that our ancestors ate. A lot of it. There's some really good grain types of breads that you can get too, I tried to have fun here, but, somebody made me serious. I told people if they don't like evidence-based science, then, trying to tell me to open up my mind with the amount of living around the globe and science and research that I've done throughout my lifetime, I find highly insulting. And I am going to give my opinion here, just like everyone else in YouTube seems to be able to give an opinion. I tend to stay very polite about things and very, respectful around everyone's beliefs and their opinions and so forth, because obviously I do respect that as somebody who does psychiatric mental health. But when it comes to, I've had to, when it comes to spreading, things of conspiracy natures and so forth, and some of these supposed physicians that have a lot to gain from getting people to buy into their gimmick, then I do want to have people have caution around these folks. And so that's my thoughts. Anyway, keep going, Tim.
Path. And as I start to see results, and I'll probably get them slower because I'm not being real good at it and feeling better, it'll be a way of life for me. I never want to go back to eating sugar, cakes and pies, and bread, even though I love it. Nothing better. I had some recently. Who doesn't like bread? Fresh baked bread. But it is not good for us, right? It turns into pure sugar. And that's not what we were meant to eat. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a dietitian here. I'm getting too deep. But here's the crux of the video. I got the results back.
Well, I am very sorry to hear that, watching and judging you, that you ignored your high LDL and now you have 2 stents. And I know that people don't think that these stents work, but I have literally seen people, because I've been in the medical field a very long time, and I have seen people coming into the heart hospital gray and sweating and literally looking like they're about to die. I mean, I'm being deadly serious here. And once they have been stented, it's like all this blood flow suddenly opens up and the person's like a whole new person. It's incredible to see. It's absolutely incredible. And I'm so glad that you were able to get the stent in time, and that hopefully you're feeling better now, watching and judging you. And I hope that you've made some lifestyle changes in order to be healthy. And I know I can even probably tell you what medications they put you on after those stents, because I'm very familiar with those procedures. Like I said, I used to prep and recover patients for that all the time. But thank you for that chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. As a person who's had 4 coronary stents treated by one of the best coronary hospitals in the U.S. blocked arteries, were AD. I'm not sure what AD is the acronym for. All day? All day? Is that? Blocked arteries were all day? I mean, we used to do 60 casts a day where I was. Not everybody was getting stented. But I know a lot of people, definitely, high blood pressure will wreck the kidneys. Absolutely. You start putting pressure on your kidneys like that? Absolutely. Because what happens is over time, your heart just cannot keep doing that. It can't keep keeping up with that high blood pressure. It's going to shut your kidneys down over time. It's just a way to manage it. It's got to make decisions about what to do. And over time, your kidneys are going to be affected by it, because it's not going to get the type of, real good blood flow to the kidneys due to the high blood pressure. And it's going to cause all sorts of fallout. It's not great. Everything works in conjunction in hemostasis with one another. And it's very complex. I mean, the stuff I have to read is stuff that I think would be is probably not very fascinating for most people. The science is intense, obviously, because it's medicine. So it's a lot of the body chemistry, and it's a lot to understand. Anyway, keep going, Tim.
And it says abnormal. And I thought, oh gosh, another thing to worry about, I wouldn't even get this eye surgery done if I don't say to people, don't get eye surgeries, don't get surgeries, don't get hip replacements, don't do these things that science and technology has proven can help you. Come on, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Blind Views.
I am a little skeptical about it.
Yeah, and it's sometimes you can have the genetic predispositions to things such as high blood pressure, and it could be. I've seen that too, where these people have had to be on blood pressure medications from young ages and been very healthy, with their lifestyles and so forth. Still had to be on blood pressure medications. And It's, the heart is really, the reason why we use the word heart, and in so many things beyond just the actual physical heart itself and having the heart to do this, is because it's a structure that is so important. Without that functioning, nothing else matters. Airways, breathing, circulation. And everyone knows that without that, you're not going to get far. And so it's important to take care of it. But I always believe in, I think we learn a lot about doing, believe it or not, non-pharmacological. Every time I talk about anything with a disorder, we also discuss what non-pharmacological therapies we can use with the patients. And I know that a lot of doctors seem to be very poor at doing that. But I think there had been a history in the past where patients felt that had they not been prescribed something, the doctor really wasn't giving them something for their time. And hopefully over time, we can start to educate our providers as well as our patients to start to think about what other, non-pharmacological things we can do before we start to think about what pharmacological things we need, or, where is that balance always? And as a patient gets older, I think the goal always is to start to de-prescribe, because actually some of these medications can do patients as they age more harm than they can actually do the patient good. So I think de-prescribing is always something that should be a part of a patient's plan as they begin to age. So that's just me. But I do psychiatric. I don't really do this type of medicine.
But this eye thing, I really am. And I appreciate your prayers. And I'm laying down. I'm laying down. I'm going to do it. I did it once. It didn't work. I'm going to do it again because I want to get off of some of the drops, and I don't want to hear about this high pressure in the eye. Now, I know Monday morning, he only does these surgeries on Mondays. I know that, and he bangs them out, just like the guy that I had the first one done. He just bangs them out. Everybody shows up. There's a waiting room. It's like to get new batteries at Walmart, oil changes. They're there, and he's going to turn them out. And that's where he makes his money. When he sits there and talks in the office as a doctor, they went into that profession to make money. They didn't go in there to heal and help the world. And
there are always going to be an outlier. But for the majority of people, that sadly is not their case.
Went to be a lawyer or a doctor to make money. And where's the money? When you go to an auto repair shop.
Oh, so you don't pop out 10 YouTube videos a day, Tim, to make money. Tim's never worked harder in his life. That video that Darling did recently about Tim aging like cheese or wine, or maybe not wine. Aging like old bread. That was a great video because Tim has not been aging great. I think his lifestyle choices have been catching up with him recently. Oh yeah, and if he's this eye surgery doesn't go well for him, I fear that Tim is going to be very upset with his doctor. All right, keep going, Tim.
They don't make it on the oil changes. It's on air conditioner repair, transmission repair, bigger items. And so,
that's right. Sorry, I'm going into medicine because I'm going to make a lot of money. Oh, I forgot. As a nurse, I make all this money. Catherine says psych meds can mess with the body, so your expertise will be so valuable. Thank you. Well, they really can, but unfortunately for some psychiatric disorders such as schizophrenia, they are better having medications to help them manage their symptoms. And sadly, there's other comorbidities that go along with mental health disorders that can make differences in someone's expected life, life expectancy and so forth. It's a lot. There's a lot that goes behind that. And I think that you can't prescribe, actually. It's not a good idea to have them on too many. Really, it's very, it's not something that you would want to be doing, A lot easier ways to make money. Physicians often have a lot of debt and start saving later. Yeah, and the hours of work, I mean, they're up there with the hours that Tim puts out a day for his YouTube videos. I mean, you sacrifice a lot to get through medical school. After I get off this live stream, I'm going back to finish a paper. So, I mean, it's not like I'm having a hot Saturday night. And so there's a lot of sacrifice that goes along with, which is why I found it a little bit insulting to say I need to take time to read, research, and study, because that's literally all I do when I'm not at work and when I'm not really doing. My house is surrounded by books. All I do is read, research, and study. That's why I was able to find information probably fairly fast on this doctor, beyond what would just be on YouTube, because YouTube is, going to be very, YouTube it's a selective platform if you want it to be. So, so I think but when you're reading like literal disciplinary action, that's a different thing. Okay, Tim, let's fish this out so we can take a look at these disciplinary action.
Routine that he can have these people come in and drink the Kool-Aid. We need to do a tube shunt. We need to do a this or a that. And the people go, okay.
I don't even know if that's the
like
right
I'm doing.
one.
So, I'm just feeling like, since I've been watching the media and discovering how we've been lied to so much about everything, I'm skeptical of everything now. Yeah. I really am. And I want to think that I don't have to eschew eating hamburger, steak, and the things that I enjoy in a.
Well, you don't have to necessarily eschew it, but I definitely don't think you should be eating it at the level that you're consuming it, Tim. That is just, I mean, every morning with eggs or bacon, like that's, if you wanted to have it once in a blue moon, yeah. But I think on the whole, your diet lacks a great deal of variety. And it doesn't seem like there's a great deal of like fruits or vegetables or nuts or pulses or seeds. I know none of this stuff sounds glamorous. I know for some people, some things like seeds, if you have a history of diverticulitis or something, you don't want to be eating that stuff. That would be awful. So yeah, there's certain things or certain disorders that some of these things that I'm recommending, that's not going to be the diet that would be recommended for you. I think that is probably really the conversation. And a lot of times I do really try to stress to people who do have, especially, type 2 diabetes and a history of cardiovascular disease with it, maybe histories of MI, maybe they've had to have a cabbage, that they really should connect then with a nutritionist if they can. And they're very few and far between and often difficult sometimes to find one. It's not a profit-driven, somebody who's, working within a medical system and is going to help you get a diet that is going to be appropriate for the different medical disorders you have. And I think that is something that's lacking in our system, because I do think food does play an important role. And I think that there is a food illiteracy in the United States, and really understanding what a good, healthy, balanced diet is starting out in life. So you're not sort of, facing potential issues down the road later on, or mitigating at least some of it. And I think there's been a change because of lifestyle and people having limited time that has kind of changed the way people eat from, even, a century ago, and maybe why we see more health disorders and so for certain things. Anyway, keep going.
Abundance, eggs, that these cholesterol numbers are affecting, cause me to have a heart attack. Maybe an x-ray is what the doctor is going to do. Maybe if there shows plaque in your artery that is obviously not allowing blood flow to go through good, that's more evidence than just a number on the scale from the blood work. Maybe a CT scan of an actual visual.
Yeah, he does.
Because it could be from all the fried food that I had growing up. It's not from my recent, eating red meat, grilling burgers and stuff like that. I don't know. I really don't. It's going to be really interesting to see what I do. I hate being conflicted. Like, before I would have been like gulping down. Oh man, Got to change the diet. Go on fruits and vegetables. No more red meat ever again. Oh no, high cholesterol, fat, kill you. And now I'm thinking, oh, those doctors don't know what they're talking about. Those are, watch Ken Berry.
Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to go over Dr. Ken's disciplinary actions. I don't watch Dr. Ken Berry. I have no opinion on that. I just had a rabbit hole to get down on his history.
And it's causing, not causing, it's got a slight argument between me and someone else that
there's nothing wrong
totally
with
believes in everything doctors say. Everything. And anything.
See, my plumbers are awesome. And they're really like, come with their, I have these two guys that they work together as plumbers. They have a really nice like van, highly professional. They don't do the emergency type. They do like if you're planning to do your water heater, installing a shower or bathroom, doing the dishwasher, those types of jobs where they actually come out. They have helped me on an emergency situation before. Very professional. I know they make a very good living at that. So I think being a plumber is awesome. I think sometimes that could actually, there's a lot of attorneys. I think being an attorney is very competitive. Medicine is exhausting. So it is a calling. And so for people to assume that, I think that's very, I think we're just kind of getting scapegoated for things. And I think that's convenient for industries that profit from healthcare to scapegoat doctors when people aren't happy.
Anything anybody says on YouTube, even though they're a doctor, also, nah. So I'm just going to keep it to myself, even though I've just told the whole world.
I'm sorry, Vicky.
I'm going to do me, and they can do them. Crush it.
Oh, goodness, Tim. That was... All right, that's Tim. I'm sorry for your loss, Vicky. I'm not laughing about that. I'm laughing at Tim, so I hope you appreciate that. And Catherine, charlatans, I know. And I'm trying to be, cheerful. I usually have a lot of fun with Tim, but obviously, I knew this topic was going to, surprisingly, something as simple as me talking about what I don't think will cause any controversy a few years ago, which is the cholesterol number, has now become a lot more concerning for people because there's a lot more, information out there from all sorts of sources. Yeah, I worry about the future of medicine. I do worry about that too, especially, it's a hard profession. Our patients can be really sick, and working now for these healthcare systems and all of these offices purchased out by private equity firms, they don't give us really time to spend with the patients. It can be, and that can be soul destroying for people who love what they do, which is take care of people at the end of the day. Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss, Vicky Lynn. Yeah, cancer. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's tough. If you have, I'm catching the middle of a conversation there. Okay, let's go over and take a look at some of these other things that I found out about Dr. Ken Berry. And I just, like I said, I don't know much about, obviously, we know I don't eat meat. So, I mean, it's not about that. But anyway, let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see this better. Okay, so let me try to see if I can pull this away. I don't think I can take this part away. So anyway, okay. So one of the things I found was starting back in 2010, Dr. So I just, you kind of, I think anybody who is seeing a doctor would want to find out, what's this doctor, what's their history? Does this doctor have any, violations on their license? Because Tim seems to have more faith in Dr. Ken Berry than the doctor that he's supposed to be seeing. Because I don't know if he's actually, I guess because he's been on the statin for so long, but he's never made really any significant lifestyle changes. Sitting there with 5 creamers in your coffee and eating bacon and eggs and hamburgers like that, the way that Tim does all the time. And his meat look like all low quality and stuff. He's not like eating anything that's lean. And it's a lot of it. It's all the time. It's like 3 times a day. What are you? There's no statin. I don't think there's any medication that's going to be able to battle against that stuff. But anyway, so the first thing that seemed to happen with Dr. Berry, because this was quite the rabbit hole, was back in 2010. And he is out of Camden, Tennessee. This is Dr. Kenneth D. Berry. And it was misleading advertising. So I don't know what the misleading advertising was, but he was having misleading advertising to his practice. And he did get an action. This is a disciplinary action report. Okay. So I highlighted his name. Okay. So this is out of Nashville, Tennessee. So this is all facts. Okay. This is not me making up stuff. This isn't me getting down. This is literally a disciplinary report from Tennessee. Okay. So nobody can accuse me of Tim likes to think that anyone who's a hater channel or a copycat channel, is misconstruing things. No, this is a fact. Okay. This is Tennessee Department of Health to issue a monthly media release listing all disciplinary actions taken by the health-related boards during the prior month. And so here, July 2010, is detailed information of all the different people who are DAs and DHs and dentists and massage therapists and all types of boards of medicine and so forth. You could have labs, you name it, nurses, the whole shaboodle. I don't know what shaboodle is, but you can see them all. Okay. So it's all of these. One of them was obviously our good friend. And that's why I always, worry about physicians who have these gimmicks going on. There's a reason. So just always great caution. So misleading advertising, and he had his license reprimanded, and he was assessed a $7,500 civil penalty plus costs. So that's the first one he had. Okay, so that was just dating back from 2010. Yeah, I'm not here to diagnose or treat. That's right. But I can get some. So the fact that this young lady was saying to me earlier, I don't know how to do any research about stuff. You should see the research I just did for this. And I wrote part of a paper today. And I got this live stream ready. So I think I'm pretty good at doing all these things. Okay. So the next one we're going to see is, let me share this one instead. Okay. So this is going into 2016. So again, out of Tennessee, it's obviously the Department of Health again, releasing the reports. And we're going to go down to Dr. Kim Berry. Now it starts to get quite serious at this point. And this time, Dr. Kim Berry. Now this one's long, and it's basically letting us know that they had some issues around their dispensing of drugs, and they've had some issues around their taking of appropriate medical histories, for obviously dispensing drugs, for how they were caring for their equipment. And we're going to go and I'm actually going to read a much longer statement that explains this part of Dr. Berry's. And this is the Dr. Berry that Tim is referring to, okay? Because this is the one that he's referring to. They're out of Camden, Tennessee. Dr. Berry has a farm in Tennessee. That they have. I'm going to read more from their disciplinary action report, because it gives a really long explanation better. Okay, so that's 2016. Now, in this point, their license was placed on probation for 3 years. They were assessed $5,000 civil penalty plus costs not to exceed $3,000. Okay. Now in 2018, all right, just to show you this tab instead. Now we get into something. This is where it really explains what happened. And when you start to read kind of like the negligence behind this particular physician, it's really quite concerning. So I'm like, when people want to kind of follow his advice over their health and their, going for their cholesterol and things and listening to this person's gimmick, in my way of thinking, when you read this type of stuff about their practice, I would be very hesitant to want to have information from this provider. And it gets even kind of more interesting. So anyway, the sort of crux of it is, and I'll leave the links to these down below if people want to get in touch with, take a look further, is that he actually was disciplined for prescribing controlled substances and other medications without following the prerequisites to issuing prescriptions outlined in the board's rules. So when people get all upset about, people then, prescribe, controlled substances, Dr. Berry was doing this, and to such an extent that obviously he was found by the board to being problematic in prescribing controlled substances. And there's protocols behind that in medicine where you have actual registries where you're supposed to go online and actually look up the patient and you register your MPI number as a physician with prescribing these medications. And it's really to trace and track the patients and seeing if they're going and doctor shopping, and potentially if there's any issues with the provider over prescribing. So there's different reasons why these medical type of records can be beneficial. Sorry, I'll go over to the chat. I know I'm losing people on this one, but this to me was the most interesting rabbit hole. Was that this gentleman, Dr. Berry, obviously he had also was disciplined for prescribing to family members, which anybody knows in the medical profession, it is unethical to prescribe either for yourself or for other people in your family. That is a no. Respondent owns and operates the Berry Clinic located in Camden, Tennessee. Well, maybe at that time, because I understand the clinic at some point burnt down. So there was also an investigation behind Dr. Berry's clinic because their clinic had been burnt down. So, and they also were accused of SA. So, and there's two because his house also burnt down as well. So, I mean, it's pretty intense on this 1 in 20. I mean, this is bad. He performs procedures such as punch biopsies, cryotherapy, simple fractures, joint and trigger point injection, electrocardiograms, pulmonary function testing, and testosterone and progesterone pellet injections. Respondent also maintains a second clinic inside the Berry Clinic called the Upstairs, where respondent performs Botox injections, collagen, and so forth. He's injected testosterone and estriol pellets into patients by using stainless steel injection devices, trocars, that are manufactured and sold for single use. But it was found that he was reusing these devices over and over again, which is not advised. And he was, discovered cleaning, disinfecting, and sterilizing practices in the clinic were inadequate. So, I mean, they were doing vampire facials. I mean, he was doing all sorts of stuff out of this spa. And, so he had he was basically doing a lot of like very, kind of a little bit more, definitely medicine where he was making money, all these spa type services and things. I mean, those are all money makers. And then he was like pulmonary function tests. And I mean, it was a real like interesting, none of these things are like the other. But I think you can get a lot of money from doing things like PFTs. So that's potentially why he was doing pulmonary function tests. That's potentially why that was going on. Vampire facials. Yes. I think they get your... Yes, Dr. Classy Badassy. People need to know about Dr. Kim Berry. Absolutely. It's really disturbing. Oh, Vicky Lynn, it's bad. It's really bad. Vampire facials. Yeah, I think vampire facials are, they get your blood plasma, and they get like the plasma from it. And then they do, I think it's like the there's like a puncturing thing, and then they rub the blood into it. Yes, it is actually great information to know, Broken Brain. Absolutely. And so to say that I've not able to do research and I don't know and I need to open up my mind, I'm just looking at just the medical disciplinary things here. Oh, yes. Oh, gosh, that sounds terrible, Dr. Classy says there were multiple cases of HIV transmission through vampire facials. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that sounds terrible. Probably because they were having not clean equipment and doing that plasma, because they're supposed to like separate the plasma. Oh, no. Yeah. And I mean, this just goes on. And then it said here, sufficient to establish that grounds for discipline of respondent's medical license exists. The order shall extend his probationary period for 2 years following the expiration of the initial period of probation. The probationary status placed on Tennessee medical license. Respondent must, and he didn't even show up to this one, but respondent must petition the board for an order of compliance and personally appear before the board. He must obtain certified infection preventionist to develop and maintain a comprehensive infection control plan. The respondent must submit the outline plan to the board's medical director within 30 days, effective. And then, it goes on and on. He got, he had to do a different completion of disciplinary coordinator, course requirements, civil penalty. He had all types of other civil penalties. I mean, multiple things for all of these different violations that he had in infection control. I mean, absolutely putting his patients, and on top of the controlled substance. I mean, it's like not even one thing. It's like two really bad things. I mean, the prescribing and difference between license suspension and license being reprimanded. I mean, suspension would mean that he would not be able to practice medicine. A reprimand means that you're in trouble. That would be the difference in those two. So let's go over to 2023 because it continues and it just gets better. So Dr. Berry again. So the last, all that was, you had the 2010 for the misleading advertising. And think 2018, this is just, think this gentleman did not have any type of infection control. And along with it, this is just before the panini. So, think about this being where you're going to get your spa services. So if anybody is thinking that Dr. Berry isn't a gimmick or isn't trying to make money off of a fad, he was literally doing like beauty services and spa services and obviously having a practice, which he was making money. So yeah, these types of providers aren't the type of people we really love to see in medicine, and they're not really the people. That's why we have disciplinary boards for these types of folks. Okay. So, and it gets, like I said, these stories even get better. So 2023, he continues and he did appear with the board without legal representation. And basically what happened is that he was trying to obviously, get the board to lift the probation that was on his license, because his license is still on probation. So meaning that obviously if he has any further issues down the line, then potentially he could lose his medical license. And, let's find this interesting, because this is the person that Tim, our expert on Social Security, wanted to rush to for his information on how to manage his cholesterol. Rather than his own provider, Tim had to rush and come and find out what this gentleman, who has all this, in my opinion, obviously issues around his medical practice. Well, it's not even my opinion. Tennessee Health Department believes he has issues around his medical practice. And so he's obviously trying to get this probationary period lifted. And they basically said, no, it stands. It continues to be in effect. And so he didn't get out of his probationary period. So it still stood at that time. And he needs to follow up and find himself in compliance with the order, that long one that we took a look at in 2018. Now, Dr. Berry still has more stuff going on. And we'll just finish this out quickly. The thing in 2018, if you want to read it, it's pretty long, but it's pretty intense. All the different things that he obviously did that put his patients at risk. So other things that potentially Dr. Berry, let me get back over to sharing the screen here, could find himself having interesting going on. I often wonder if practitioners like this are not only charlatans, but also adrenaline junkies. I wonder. It would be interesting to get them to follow some personality questionnaires. So this one, this is some different courts of appeal. And let's find Dr. Berry shows up again because Bird was a janitorial business that was owned. And I believe it did work inside of different colleges. And this case, it didn't come to any fruition. So these are only allegations. And so these are not obviously been founded. But these were allegations that surrounded Dr. Berry. Okay. But he was not found guilty of anything. Okay. But obviously it was interesting that this also happened, that Bird, Stafford, and Stewart, collectively Bird employees, allege that during the course of performance of the cleaning contract, this is supposedly at a university, Dr. Kenneth Berry, a physician employed by the university in Tennessee to work at the clinic, sexually harassed. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, YouTube, you didn't hear that. Sexually harassed and aid each of them on numerous occasions. The Bird employees allege that they reported Berry's misconduct to several employees of the university who worked at the clinic, including the clinic site director. And all this alleged that engaged in inappropriate SE behavior. And they complained about it. I understand that it, and it goes on here about his inappropriate behaviors, and potentially all of these different things, and that they had to call a security guard and the sheriff's department. And this wasn't just on one time, but on multiple occasions that one happened. 2 times more than vegans. Yeah, I'm a vegan. Well, more of a sort of, I used to follow more of a plant-based. I follow primarily a plant-based diet. I wouldn't say necessarily I'm a vegan like that. I have some wackadoodle thoughts about stuff. So nice. Hi Ray, I just sit here reading the paper on Dr. Berry. Wow, look at the current news if you're still on. Yeah. It's Yes, he did. Yes, he did, Chuck. He also faced that as well. He did. And he also faced arson charges. So yeah, so there's the whole thing. This was in 2004. This was in 2000. This was all obviously dismissed. So he was not found in any breach of anything. You know, but you know, that was, like I said, these were only allegations, and I clearly stated that. But yes, there was at one point these employees did take the state to court, and it involved obviously the behavior of Dr. Kenneth Berry. So yes. And then lastly, Tim would want to hear Dr. Berry's side of the story. Absolutely. You know, because you know what just to add on top of the you know, misuse and of prescribing controlled narcotics, the filthy facility that he kept, and putting his patients at harm's risk, the probationary probations that he's had, his obviously the misleading advertising where he got like a little slap on the hand. I mean, can it get better? Yes, it can get better, because we haven't hit the last thing we'll look at. And I think that, I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, I didn't want to get too down a rabbit hole. I'm sure I could have. I don't think he wants any of this history out in YouTube world. I'm sure if I put any of this out, he, you know, I've kind of snuck it into the YouTube by sneaking into Tim tonight so that Dr. Berry doesn't see me doing that. Anything, saying anything. All right. So this is the last story, because this was an interesting one. Let's go over here. Okay. So his home got burnt down. So that was quite fascinating. Let's have my hand over the button. Yeah. Sheer number of complaints tells you all you need to know. Yeah. I mean, complaints and just the number of the disciplinary actions. He said he thinks I saw that doctor or the clay size astrologist. You know, well, you know, you would want to hope that they've had at least some education behind it. At least come to the gunfight with some evidence, you know. Don't just, and that's why I feel like the person saying I needed to open my mind and research tonight, I certainly did some research on old Dr. Berry here. So I think I did a pretty good job. I think I found out some really interesting tea on Dr. Berry, more tea than I even anticipated. You know, I thought I'd just find out some, honestly, when I first looked at it, I thought I would just see, you know, potentially some of our peers in the medical profession, the doctors, not my peers, but peers, physicians to each other, having maybe some thoughts behind his, you know, sort of gimmick diet and sort of propose, you know, these sort of diets that kind of are fad, you know, and can get a lot of traction, that people will follow them. It's going to get them a lot of views on YouTube. Certainly helps his YouTube channel out, helps promote him, you know, because obviously he's been through a lot. But he obviously, you know, when I look at interest, you know, somebody like Dr. Berry, and I think about, you know, what type of personality traits could have somebody put their license at such risk, you know, and the sort of different behaviors. There's a lot of interesting, you know, obviously things going on here. And I just find it fascinating that obviously the first person that Tim wanted to go to for his high cholesterol information was this guy, who's also got, obviously, who was investigated for arson. But anyway, let's take a look at this and we'll finish up for the night. So, prosecutor announces possible guilty plea in 2019 arson case. Said a Benton County prosecutor announced on Monday that a plea deal has been reached with a Camden woman accused of burning down a doctor's home in 2019. And this young lady, Candace L. Wright, looks like she was potentially getting some procedures at Dr. Berry's office. Just in my estimation because of the fact that she did, hey, I've had some procedures done. I've worked in a plastic surgeon's office. She looks like she had some lip fillers and some Botox. Yeah, she looks good. Okay. Appeared in court seeking a 2-week delay in judgment, with the prosecution revealed they anticipate a guilty verdict in the coming weeks. Wow. So they reached a settlement in which we do not anticipate a guilty verdict. Okay. Oh, we do anticipate a guilty verdict. Sorry, pardon me. So they had a settlement. So she obviously really didn't want to go to court. She just took a settlement. Okay. Potential conclusion to a case that has spanned more than 4 years. Wright now has until October to finalize her plea and is expected to return to court on October 1st. Wright was indicted by Benton County grand jury, and following an extensive investigation into the fire that destroyed the home of Dr. Kenneth and Nisha Berry. The fire occurred on the evening of October the 2nd, 2019. And it actually gives doxes out that address, but I guess the home not there anymore. When Chalk Level and Holiday McIlwain fire departments responded to the blaze, they found the house fully engulfed in flames. Firefighters battled the blaze, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it was a total loss. Okay, so shortly after the incident, obviously they investigated, and it was found that the led to the indictments against Wright and another individual, Sharon Renee Collins, 34. Okay, so she was arrested. She got some possession for marijuana with intent to sell, released on bond, and then she had all this. And they said the charges against Wright and Collins date back to the night of the fire in 2019. Following the blaze, the agent fire marshals arrived on the scene, began their investigation. The Berry home was vacant at the time of the fire. So, well, this is the interesting part right here at the end. The incidents came nearly 7 months after a separate fire destroyed the Berry Clinic. Remember the infamous clinic that I spoke about earlier on? Well, that got destroyed by a fire. I mean, that's not great. And it was the one located on Camden Court Square, and that happened on March the 25th, 2019. The fire also caused damage to neighboring buildings, and despite a thorough investigation, the Department of Commerce and Insurance listed the cause as undetermined. The remains of the clinic were later leveled to help stabilize the adjacent structures. So remember, they were trying to do a investigation on the sterilization practices within the Berry Clinic, and there was all the different things around the controlled substances and so forth. Well, I guess any evidence has been burnt down to the ground now. There's nothing left. I guess the place is fully sterile. Anyway, with a potential plea deal in the works, this is the ladies' resolution to the long-running investigation. So I'm not sure why these ladies burnt this gentleman's house down. I wasn't able to find out much more behind that story. I'm sure in Tennessee, maybe they know more about it. Some of the things are, talk to Sparky. That's pretty funny, Flat Pat. That's pretty funny. Yes, we do need to protect our seniors from the likes of Sarasota Tim. You think we need to protect our seniors like Sarasota Tim? Yeah, we need to protect seniors from Sarasota Tim. That's what I think. I predict Tim will be defending Dr. B in the morning chat. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, like I said, I am not talking anything about, I obviously spoke about the cholesterol, and that's what I've known for science. I'm sure there's nuances to the carnivore diet. Would I recommend that? No. When I've spoken to cardiologists about that diet, would they recommend that to their patients? No. Is there such a thing as the keto diet? Yes. Is it just meat? I don't know that. I know that I've had patients on keto diets to get them into, or ketogenic diets to go into ketosis for seizure prevention. But these are literally, it was so hard to put that patient into ketosis. And this is a patient that was on a feeding pump, and we would mix this very specific formula that was created by a nutritionist along with a neurologist in order to prevent seizures. And it contained like multi-chain triglycerides and salt. And, and I would have to measure out a certain amount of salt, a certain amount of these multi-chain triglycerides. I believe there was like some other like formulas that were like some type of powdered milk or something else that was added to it, and a certain amount of water. And it was like this very complex formula that was having to be created and followed on a very exacting recipe through a feeding tube. And even that alone was difficult to get that patient fully into ketosis in order to be able to get the benefits, to be able to really get the seizure prevention, which is how that really the diet kind of came about, was for children and seizure preventions. And then they found that maybe potentially have some other benefits, but they should always be seriously monitored by a medical provider. And with your lab work being drawn, it should not be something that you just say, hey, let me do this one day and, limit my diet. That's not really something that I would recommend. That's just me as a medical professional. That's just me. He sounds like this guy. Look at my arses. Well-researched statins. Well, I mean, I just find it interesting. What type of legal background do I have? I don't know. I have 5 friends who are attorneys. I've certainly got classes in policy, health policy. I have advanced classes in health policy for my graduate studies. So I guess that gives me some legal background. There you go. Yeah. I've got, I've not gone beyond the public record, or I'm obviously a health professional, so I understand how a medical board works. I love people who try to troll. Obviously, my diagnosis is F-deny is a troll. Obviously, because it's so much easier. Is that projection, F-deny? I'm guessing that's your projection. Okay. Yeah, you're projecting. Okay. I think we're going to be, to F-deny, you can hang out in the chat because you'll do yourself more of an embarrassment than I could do to you. So I shall let you remain. So, anyway, guys, I have got to, it's all public record. I know I'm reading public record and obviously reading about this Austin case and reading about the essay. And it's still, if you get some, the podcast bro mentality going on, and I just call it that way because that's kind of how I feel. It's like, hey, bro. It's like that's the, this bro told me about it. And so that's all the evidence I need. And there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there. And one more smart comment in the corner. He goes, absolutely, Angel of Glass. You're the mod. You have full control of what happens in the chat. Yeah. Oh, thank you. We need considered content. You brought it, mate. Oh, well, thank you. My personal. This is allowed to have my opinion. F-deny too. Guess what? I'm allowed to have my opinion. Thank you, Flat Pat. Oh, for the pure entertainment. I hope it was entertaining. Obviously, I knew it was going to be a serious topic. It wasn't just us making fun of Tim, because I needed to bring in some of the other parts, because Tim is out here, with his dying channel. I mean, his channel is absolutely dying. So it's, yeah. So but it was fun to kind of go into this other rabbit hole, because I really wasn't expecting to find that. I mean, that was not the information on public record that I was able to, expecting to find, was all this information around the disciplinary action. And it's pretty horrific when you read through it. Thank you, Dr. Classy. Thank you. Yeah, I know. Have fun for your 30 minutes. Yeah, I know. Hey, I let people come in, and I don't mind people having an opinion. And a lot of it's not even my opinion on some of this. It's the opinion of a disciplinary board in Tennessee and their health department. That's really nothing about my opinion. Obviously, if you think that having an opinion around somebody who's, got dirty instruments and has all, I'm going to share this tab instead, because I think this is the best part about Dr. Berry, has all of these dirty procedures and is putting all of his patients at home and risk. And then this Berry clinic suddenly gets burnt down the following year. I find that quite fascinating. Thank you, Chuck. I really appreciate the chat. Trolls be damned, he says. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. Angel Glass says, please don't forget to hit the like button. It's a free way to support and helps her out with the YouTube algorithm. Absolutely. Thank you, Angel Glass. I'm so glad you showed up to Mod. It was like old times talking about the health stuff, because I haven't had a real, time where I kind of don't necessarily always get into the health topics, because Tim has been talking more about things around health. And when people tell me it's my opinion, and I have had more years than I want to count in the health care industry. And obviously, people laugh and want to say, oh, she's still in school. Well, when you're in the healthcare industry, you always feel like you're in school. And especially for those of us in the nursing field, we often will spend years working our way up kind of through the nursing career ladder and take more and more education and certifications as we go along. It's just kind of part and parcel of the career path. And so it's always interesting to have people try to criticize me in my comment sections because I'm a student still. It's not the first time I've been a student. I have, been a student more than once, because I have multiple degrees, because a lot of times, sadly, these types of professions require a lot of education. And I find it interesting when people then tell me I need to open my mind and become educated, when there has not been a decade of my life that I have not spent in education and some sort of field of learning. And so I feel that I am fairly open-minded on the most part, and I tend to look at facts. Yeah, I love talking about health topics. And maybe we get Foodie back at some point, Angel of Glass. It was so fun. Maybe we bring Foodie back for one time. I've been thinking about doing a Chantel, just because the diabetic retinopathy is getting out of control with that watery eye. And maybe one day I just want to break from Tim. So I might come back and check in on Chantel. Maybe it's time to do a physical assessment on Chantel again. I know she misses me. I know she does. I absolutely. I love talking about hot topic. Anything around health. Absolutely love it. I can tell I need a sip of my tea. Dr. Classy says, hey now, does everyone know that the registered nurse curriculum degree is the hardest bachelor's degree? Thank you, Dr. Classy, badassy. It's one of it's where they really do. It's very tough. It's hard. It is very hard. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate you for saying that. He's going live telling you, Tim is? I don't know if Tim would want to do a live stream. I don't know if Tim would handle the trolls. You know, he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. Catherine says foodie in the head stuff too. Yes. Yeah, we got to get back over there. Eye problems seem serious to me. I know. I have all these creators with eye problems. And ophthalmology is not necessarily my area of expertise, but I do understand a thing or two about diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma. So, yeah, that eye is not looking good. And I have fears that if his procedure does not go well, Tim will continue to be angry at doctors and blame us and blame any practitioner for all of his problems. Yes, yes, we're going back. I'm going back into 15 different conversations. Anyway, yes, Svantel is a physical disaster. Anyway, let me make sure I thank everybody because we're almost coming up to 2 hours now. And I need to finish my little paper on neurocognitive disorders. I was looking at Lewy bodies and Parkinson's, which are similar to each other. Well, because of the Lewy body proteins, obviously. And but it's just the sequencing and the timing of the disorders that separate the two. That's kind of the difference between the two of those. But it's fascinating, and I need to finish that paper. So anyway, all right. But as I was told by Nomad Weather Girl, I need to open my mind and research because I don't understand how to do it. And my information on cholesterol is just garbage. And I need to get on YouTube. And I need to find these YouTube experts, the ones that Tim uses. But I am going to do something coming up soon with another creator. I just need to get the time because of my schedule, really. And we will be talking about Tim's Social Security. But I'm going to let them be the expert on that because I have no expertise on that area. And I will defer when I am not an expert on a topic. Absolutely, at all times. I used to have a nutritionist come on a lot in order to talk about Chantel and her horrible numbers. And we often talked about her cholesterol and all of these different things. So this is not an unusual topic of conversation for me to have. And if I sounded tired tonight, I apologize, everybody. It's been a very long week, and I think I'm getting old. Anyway, I want to thank Sharon for having to become a member today. Thank you so much. And for David, too, for having become a member. Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, Compman0678. Thank you so much for having joined the community. It is so appreciated. Watching and judging, thank you for the super chat. Flat Pat, I appreciate yours. That was very generous. And Chuck, thank you too. I really do appreciate all of your support. And I don't mind saying that I am like Judge Joe.
No. I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is.
And I do appreciate everybody for their participation in the chat this evening, for all of you who subscribed, all of you who have taken the time. Make sure you like this stream before you leave. Helps me up the algorithm. You know, I appreciate you all and Sharon. Respect everyone in the medical professional. Tremendous responsibility and respect. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that. I know that we're in interesting times at the moment. And I know that there is a lot of information that we have to look at. But again, if I'm looking at anything, I'm going to be looking at just potentially the facts. And like I said, I did not know. I never thought in 1,000 years when I started to look at the information about Dr. Kenneth Barry that they would have so many issues around controlled substance prescribing inappropriately, licensed probation, dirty spa, reusing equipment that's not properly sterilized and should be single use only, for the arson, the allegations of SA that were dismissed. I mean, the misleading. I mean, it was just one of those would probably have been enough, but for all of it, it was a lot. It was a lot. Anyway, Oh, thank you. A soaring pee in his fridge. Oh God. That's just nasty. You're welcome, Catherine, and thank you for being the first member back on the team. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys, and hopefully I will see French pee. I know it's nasty. Ugh. Hopefully, thank you guys for joining me. You can hear I'm losing my voice. I had a busy week at work, man. It was busy, but yeah. I will catch you on the next live. Thanks again, guys. Check you later, and I appreciate it. It was fun. Bye. Hope everyone found it interesting tonight. Bye.